first ever Beyond Borders. We're happy to have the Toronto Terror. But before we get into wins and losses, this series is about where teams come from, what they survive, what they stand for. Beyond Borders is about identity, how place shapes people, and how people shape programs. If you're rocking with these stories, you already know the deal. Tap the like and subscribe, and let's keep crossing lines together. Hey guys, I want to thank you for being here today, Vlad and Menelik. We're just gonna start. Man, I just want to dig into this. Um, so I would like to know at the very beginning of when the terror started. I know they're an AAU program, but what problem was the Toronto Terror created to solve?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Kevin. Thank you. First off, let me say thank you so much for reaching out to us and asking us to be on. Truly humbled. I know you saw us in San Antonio. I appreciate that you've kept tabs and just really happy to be here and be the first of this nature. Hopefully, it blossoms into something really great. I look forward to seeing what you do with it. Problem that it was solving is an excellent one. It solved some personal ones. First off, let me start there. I was in my 30s. I was kind of depressed, working the 9 to 5 sales job, making decent money, and just not in a good place in life, happiness wise. So I decided I wanted to start coaching and sort of rapidly excelled through the ranks of coaching very quickly. Just because when I played, I had pretty good connections and I reached out to a lot of them. So
Hmm.
shout out to a lot of people who helped me out during that time. But then the first real team that I started coaching, came in contact with some gentlemen who I guess you would classify as at-risk youth. Inner city, not a ton of money in their family, and really wanted something to pursue. Really wanted something to be good at. Loved the sport of basketball. So initially, Terror was created to solve the problem of how can I get these guys better looks and more exposure and playing on more competitive circuits or games, etc. type deal. Because what the gentlemen that were on the original team were playing was just a lot of local inconsequential stuff, and they wanted to be able to travel, and they wanted to be able to be held accountable, and they wanted to be able to get a chance to move on and really play in front of some people that mattered.
You know that what? Okay, so moving from that, why the name Terror? What does it represent beyond the
So
logo?
this is very interesting timing. So I don't know if you know, but our we have a big that plays at Quinnipiac, and his name's Spence Wayway. He started
Hmm.
every game this season. Really, really good guy. Love him. One of their most recent games, one of the away announcers decided that he was going to chime in and sort of negatively speak on the name in context. The original thought was I wanted something that was an alliteration. I wanted
Hmm.
something that didn't end in S as most team sports do. And I wanted something that it wasn't like, oh, there's 50 teams called the Panthers or whatever. I wanted to be different, unique. Um, and I know that to some people, terror might have a negative context, so to speak, but I think it solves all those other things that I was looking for. It's an alliteration,
Hmm.
doesn't end in the S. Nobody else is calling themselves that. So, when you're speaking about terror, you're speaking about my organization and the players that have played for me, and one of which is my main assistant who has really helped develop all our guys as well. Shout out to Cam Moore, couldn't be here today, but that being said, I thought it was unique and I ran with it.
Vlad, I was just gonna ask, what did Toronto basketball look like when you arrived?
Oh, when I arrived at Terror, are you talking about
Yeah,
when I've been
like
playing in Toronto?
no, just what did it? Was it similar to what you had come from? Was it different?
Oh, I was born in Toronto, so I've been playing there most of my life.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So, what did what the city's so diverse, right? Toronto itself.
Yeah.
So, what does that look like in the locker room there?
I mean, yeah, we have people from like many different places across the world, especially on Terra. We have a lot of international guys. We focus on getting guys from different places that have different skill sets. So on our team currently, we have a guy from we have someone from the UK. We have someone from Latvia. I know from past years they've had from other countries such as Estonia and Sweden. And I mean, having players coming from different parts of the world, you see how different the game is in contrasting from like America and Europe. When in Europe they're more statistical on the things such as passing, moving, cutting, and whatnot, and like America more like skill and athleticism. So it's good to see players coming from different places, see how they play.
This is so Jamal Shed is local to us. I mean, he played at University of Houston and at Manor High School, but Toronto. If Toronto had basketball had a personality, like a character trait, like what would you think that character trait would be? Toughness, physicality.
I feel like toughness would be a good one. Coming from outside of the States, it's a lot harder to get scholarships from universities. So I feel like you have to be really tough in that sense to push through adversity. Keep trying, even if you don't have anything, even if it's late, keep focusing on the main goal and just doing things to get you seen and getting to the main goal.
And you or coach can answer this, but talking about adversity, what's been the toughest obstacle the organization or the players have had to push through?
Oh man, Vlad, what do you think your toughest obstacle has been so far?
This season,
Maybe just overall.
I feel like toughest obstacle I faced is dealing with injuries. I feel like personally I'm a little more injury prone. I get injured a lot, and it like has an effect on my game, right? Because when you get injured, you have to be out. Just being away from basketball, not being able to play, having to sit out and recover while you see other guys on the court still playing. It's not easy. So I feel like going through that, it's a big challenge I face, but I've learned to overcome it by doing things such as stretching, and focusing on my the well-being of my body, so it can help with my recovery and allow me to stay on the court as long as possible.
And Kevin, sorry if I was to chime in, I don't think it would just be one main obstacle. I think the fact that we recruit so international, like last year, Vlad did mention we had 8 nations staying with us last year, and I think we have 3 this year, and it's been multiple every year. So I'd say one of the biggest things is dealing with different personalities from different places in the world. Like my undergraduate is in psychology, my master's is in exercise science and human performance. So you feel like you're equipped for the job, but then every person provides their own challenge. We spoke about this briefly when we were talking before, but like not everybody can be taught the same way. You have to find out the key for the map, so to speak, and figure out how to like unlock every player's potential and get them to get along with each other. And I mean, sometimes you have kids from countries that unfortunately don't get along with each other, right? So you have to smooth that out and deal with it, etc. And I think tying into the same thing, it would be the perception of being internationals, because we play in the United States so frequently and we play in so many different states. There's a lot to overcome there. There's always perception of, oh, we're going to officiate you this way because we think this is your game, or players are going to think you're soft because you're international. That's going to be a real big regular one. The game itself is different because these kids grow up playing FIBA and you guys play with federation rules. There's all kinds of little intricacies in there that our players have to face and overcome. And I think they're pretty big obstacles at first.
You brought up an interesting point. Having people from so many different countries, so many different cultures. What part of Toronto's culture or the Canadian culture do you think is the easiest to pick up for these guys moving in?
The easiest to pick up. Well, I mean, it would be the basketball culture overall. I mean, like, I don't think it would speak to one like race or religion or anything like that at all. I think basketball has a identifiable and unique culture that is very strong in Toronto. I mean, obviously, Canada has sort of created a name for itself in terms of how many people we've put in the NBA, how many people are in the NCAA, et cetera. So when kids come over, and they're from somewhere that is totally different culture wise, I think they adapt quite easily into what is basketball culture because, I mean, the rules of the game for the most part are the same when you get on the floor. The rules of pickup when you go to the community center for the most part, like if you suck, get out of here. That's that's what we're talking about here. Can you play or not? Really doesn't matter. The rest of everything else, we'll figure out a way if you can. So
Yeah. Well, I think that you kind of hit home with the international piece because San Antonio is such an international city. I mean, several of our basketball stars, our connection to Mexico, Spain, all these different things, our soccer opens the door. And so I just want to tell people, like, if this part of the journey hits home with different cultures, make sure you show love. These stories only keep coming in if people are tapped in. And we'll move on. What loss or setback kind of changed the way the program operates today?
Well, COVID didn't help. I mean, it definitely slowed down a lot of things. I was doing some stuff in the like professional basketball area. I was doing some stuff with college coaching, and COVID slowed down everything. Slowed down our basketball camps, slowed down our ability to travel to the United States. We missed a few. And I don't know, maybe Vlad can comment on this, but I actually found that as it was trailing off, and I was saying this during COVID, the overall skill of your average player has, in my opinion, diminished for a few years. Now, the athleticism is still fantastic, but I'm willing to bet if you went and looked at like college percentages, and if you looked at our numbers as an organization, like we stat everything, there's definitely a fall off in terms of shooting percentages, in terms of ball handling ability and all that. And that's because like certain parts of the United States were not as locked down as other places. Canada, and again, I would ask Vlad to comment on his own experience here, but a lot of places in Canada were very locked down. Like I literally had kids threaten to be arrested for playing outside. So it was a big obstacle for youth basketball, in my opinion. Vlad, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it was a large obstacle. It was a lot harder to, train and play basketball. As you said, that's probably why the skill set went down. Even just trying to play outside because all the gyms were closed, they would put like nets on the rims, so you weren't able to shoot. Really, all you could do was dribble. So yeah, I feel like that definitely had an effect on a lot of players that were, trying to improve their skill set.
So let's see, overcoming that, right? And getting the skill set back to a status quo. What do you think you learned from the COVID situation about your own leadership? Because you had to be a leader of yourself, leader within the locker room. How do you think you took those pieces in your leadership style?
I mean, I feel like it just, working through adversity again, being faced with these challenges of not being able to play as often, and having to work around the situation, which also helps with, leadership when it comes to on the court, being faced with any challenge, whether that's, in practice in a game or even off the court, you're able to see the situation clearly. And it's helped me really have a base for what I do when I'm faced with challenges, right? So I see the situation, I think about it, see things that I can do to navigate the situation and ultimately not give up and, just keep persevering in whatever that may be.
And I'd love to touch on that. I think one thing that Vlad is really good at, and I wish would translate to more players is Vlad's very good at setting goals and recognizing what time frame he has to work within them. So like Vlad's an excellent student. He's absolutely set the bar very high for himself so that his recruitment can be fully open. 4.0 average. Well, one of the schools that's really after him right now is like, oh, we need a test score, which is not par for the course anymore, right? So
Yeah.
pretty last minute, they're like, hey, can you write the ACT? And I mean, Vlad right now is currently studying for the ACT, and he's doing that while still maintaining a full basketball schedule, while still and it's like 2-3 weeks. And I know, like, we could check back in later if you want at some point, but I know he's going to excel at doing that because he's very good at time management and being able to set goals and work within that time frame.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I applaud you, Vlad. Keep working that, man.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Coach.
All right. So how let's go a little bit deeper. And how do you define Toronto Terror basketball without talking about stats, without talking about basketball itself?
The word that I would use. Go ahead, Vlad. Sorry.
No, you got it. You got it.
I'm actually curious to hear your answer. Let's go, big fella.
How do I describe Toronto Terror basketball? Without looking at basketball, I'd say, I don't know, very international. Getting players from all across the world. We're able to, have a large scale of people coming from different places. I feel like that's one of the larger characteristics of Terror basketball when not looking at basketball itself.
That's awesome.
I'd use the word grit, and I wouldn't just say gritty like in terms of being gritty in sport. I want a lot of people. I get this asked of me at the border all the time. Well, why do you do this? Because I foot a large portion of the bill for the gentleman, and hours driving, hundreds of thousands of miles, 10 to 13 states every year, that kind of stuff. Well, why do you do this? And the simplest answer is because somebody did it for me when I played, and I'm trying to pay it forward. But I demand that these gentlemen be successful in life as well. So, yeah, the goal is to go get a scholarship and go play at the highest level you possibly can, and maybe even play pro, whatever the case might be. But that ball will stop bouncing for all of us at some point. And
Yes.
when it does, are you still going to be an employable adult? Are you going to be successful in life? Are you going to be a good person? Are you going to be a good family man? All that kind of stuff. And I think all of that has to do with grit. And I tell these guys often, and forgive the language, but sometimes you got to eat shit in life in order to be able to keep your cool and keep moving on, right? Like you're not going to get your way all the time, and you've got to deal with the fact that it's not going to go your way. And frustration happens a lot in practices and conversations with young men becoming men and all that. But I think, having experience growing up myself, one of the things that young men absolutely want is to be treated like an adult. Well, here it is. Here's the parameters that you have to play within. These are the rules, and make the most of it.
And just to add on to that, I feel like another way of also describing Terror, I feel like it's a family. That's something that I've realized. I feel like both coaches, Menelik and Cam, care so much about like the recruitment of their players. I've been able to see it, firsthand myself. They really do things that a lot of other coaches don't do. They're on you every day. Like I get a text from both coaches every day. Right coaches. They help us get film out to different coaches. So they really care about that, and then that helps. Just have that feeling of like confidence and just that family feeling, and it also translates towards the other people on the team, because they see, oh yeah, these coaches care so much about us. Let's keep pushing. Let's work together, and let's try to do what we came here to do.
Vlad, something that I, and maybe you can answer a minute. All right, so this is one thing I always talk about in the classrooms. I'm a retired teacher, but what's something that you've taken from one of the guys that have come into Terror basketball, like a cultural thing that you feel like you've taken from someone or that they've taken from you in a positive manner, but something that you saw in them and said, man, I want to do that?
Do you mean style of play? Do you mean attitude wise?
Anything.
Anything?
Anything.
Vlad, I'll go first if you don't mind. I actually, I feel, I told you when I started this, I was not in a good place in life. I was unhappy. I was making good money, but I was unhappy. And, there are definitely days. I mean, look at me. I haven't shaved and my hair is messy and everything, but like, there are definitely days where you feel it and it's a grind and it's long or whatever. But I've learned, and maybe it's just youthful energy or whatever, but I've learned that when you turn the page and it's a new day, there's a lot more positive that can happen from one day to the next. Like you might be the worst screen setting team in the world one day in practice. And then the next day you're the Spurs. You've got it figured out. Like everybody's hitting, you're like, what? Like
Yeah.
nothing was different from yesterday to today. So it's I think one thing that I've definitely taken from the gentleman that like I try to emulate and try to keep as a thought in my head all the time is the win the day mentality. Don't let like yesterday being a bad day roll over into today. Have that youthful optimism that each day could be a better day than it was, and approach each day like it's something that can be won.
Thanks, Coach. All right, so we're kind of winding down, but what does success look like in you guys' eyes for the Toronto Terror? 3 or 4 years down the road.
Vlad, what do you think that would be for us? I'm always curious to hear your opinion on stuff like that.
I feel like success throughout the next years for you guys would be, just continue to get players recruited. Last year, you guys got all the players on your team recruited. I mean, if you guys can do that every year, that's a high standard. But if you guys do it, I feel like that's a a great goal, and that's seen as a success for you guys.
Appreciate you. I think, Kevin, for me, it would be definitely more of the same in terms of helping kids recruited, getting them scholarships, etc. But a big piece for me, and I say this often to a lot of my guys, and I think Vlad touched on it a little bit about like it being a family, is I think one thing that is really awesome about being an international team, and this is true of almost any team, is that like the real reward is the gentleman that you go to battle with every day. Right. So like these guys come over here and they spend 6 to 8 months together, living together, just in each other's faces all the time. But many of them, like we have a group from last year and from the years past of all the kids that have gotten recruited that are playing now. And
Mhm.
in that group, like these guys, they're all fans of each other's work. Like,
Mhm.
Collins Ngandu, who's at Ellsworth, which is a D2 junior college, just had his best game of his career this week. He scored 19 points in 11 minutes, and every guy in that group, some of which are Division One players, some of which are Canadian college basketball players, are all cheering for him having his highlight game. And to me, that would be what success would look like. Is if the legacy of Toronto Terror is that all of these gentlemen feel that Toronto Terror is at least in part their own because it's their experience. And the real positive thing that came from it was the relationships that they built with each other, right? Like, Vlad's brother is at NIMI, New Mexico Military, and all the guys on this year's team are cheering for him. All the guys sit around and watch his game together in my house, right? So it's like, to me, if that kind of behavior continued and that amount of people that were involved just continue to grow, that's really what success would look like for us. And of course, scholarships. Let's get these kids educated for free.
Yeah. I can't think of a better way to close out a conversation than such a heartfelt from both you guys, from player and coach. But this is what Beyond Borders is about. Not just basketball, but purpose, pride, and place. The Toronto Terror isn't just representing a city, they're carrying a standard. If this conversation gave you something you feel like the video, subscribe to the channel and stay locked in. More stories, more culture, more access. We'll see you next stop on Beyond the Borders.